Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo. And with me this week, we got Shawn, as always.
Hello.
And joining us this week is David.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. We are always looking for people to do some Nintendo therapy with us.
Therapy is a good word for it, I think.
Yeah, that was kind of where the show originated. Was we talked, Shawn and I talked about how that's basically what playing video games is. You know, you get in your zone, you relax.
Yeah.
Is it weird that the show has reinvigorated my joy of gaming? I know we've only done 3 episodes, but
I was gonna say.
You say that now, and then I think you're gonna get to a point where it's like, I have so many deadlines, and a video game on top of that, something's got to give. And that's the scary part, because I do a comic book podcast, and every now and again it's just I don't want to read a comic book anymore. I want to book pages. I want something meaty.
Yeah. Our other podcast is comic book related. It's we do the Ninja Turtle comics one issue at a time, and boy. You start to hate the thing you love, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that.
I just need a break from this.
Fair, yeah.
It's how many issues?
So I had an update for our listeners from last week's episode, by the way. You remember I couldn't find online a list of different games that were pack-ins with the Nintendo 64?
Oh, yeah.
So somebody sent me, I had to do some detective work because still couldn't find that list, but I found a list of every version of the Nintendo 64 that was ever sold, and I dug through that for the different ones that had pack-in games. Nice. So here is the list. Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, and then in Europe, they had Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. The Goldeneye was a pack-in in Europe. All these other countries, so those were the American ones. We're already done with that.
That was
quick.
Yeah. And these other countries got so many cool pack-in games. Europe also got a Goldeneye and Mario 64 bundle. That's crazy.
Well, I guess to be fair, Bond is more of a Europe-based thing.
It is
the Star Wars one. That's a little weird that we didn't get it, but
Mario Kart 64, Pokemon Stadium, Wave Race in Croatia. This is where we get into the weird ones.
Interesting.
And then I'm guessing these are games that were either only released in these countries or released under different names, because I didn't recognize Football 98 was a pack-in in Brazil.
My favorite, yeah. Football 98. Heck yeah.
That's a great game.
International Super Soccer 64 in Italy. NHL 99 in Norway and Sweden.
But not Canada.
Not Canada for some reason. They invented hockey and they didn't get it.
Apparently they don't love it enough.
F1 World Grand Prix in France. Perfect Dark in Sweden. And then F1 World Grand Prix 2 in England. They got the sequel.
Huh.
Ocarina of Time was a pack-in in Sweden. Pokemon Snap was a pack-in in Switzerland. And this isn't a pack-in, but I just loved the name of it. Again, this was a list of all the Nintendo 64s. There was a I Love Techno Value Pack in Belgium. I don't know what's in that.
Weird.
But they love techno.
You know, France must have been enraged when England got that second game exclusive.
Stupid British people.
The most interesting thing on this list to me was it listed like the rarity of these Nintendo 64 units for people who collect just the systems. And there was one that I totally remember seeing advertisements somewhere for, even though it wasn't in America. In Australia, they did a giveaway, and these are the rarest Nintendo 64s. They did a giveaway with the Donkey Kong pack-in version that came in these like fake wooden crates, and there's only like 20 of them, and those are the rarest.
Wild.
It had like the Ark of the Covenant, like what do you call that? Like fake
burn-in kind of thing,
like the stuff that you stuff in the crate. I can't think of what it's called, like hay or something.
Straw
I don't know.
and stuff. Yeah.
Straw. That's the word I'm looking for.
What's in the crate? Is that some Forsters? No, that's my Nintendo 64.
Oh gosh.
So, what's everybody been playing this week? Shawn, you wanna
Outside of the
start?
game that you you had us
Yeah.
play, that I
Yeah,
went
we're-
way too far.
Oh, that reminds me. I gotta at the end of the show. I gotta bring up our randomizer.
So my therapy this week, I tried the Sonic Frontiers demo because I'm guessing that's fairly new on there. I don't know if either of you guys have tried that.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
not-
if it had a demo when it launched.
I'm not a big one on that the franchise there. Like it never really sat with me.
So I can't really give you an opinion because they give you 15 minutes to play it.
Oh, was it time demo?
Yeah, so I can't even give you an impression of what I thought of it. I was just like, oh, it's a 3D and it's over. So I'm happy that they have a demo, but 45 minutes would have been a little easier for me to get a grasp on it. And then outside of that, I discovered Polygon's doing a series of articles on the Legend of Zelda series, and obviously the first one's about the original game. And the article was about how the original is the only one that shares any DNA with Breath of the Wild, which I thought was kind of cool. And I've been playing through the original Zelda blind, because the one time I beat it, I looked everything up, and I've gotten through 3 dungeons without looking stuff up and trying to figure out the hints. And like I said, the show in a weird way has kind of reinvigorated the way I used to play games as a kid. So I've been having a blast playing The Legend of Zelda.
That's dope.
Well, did you ever see when Breath of the Wild was in early development, they did like a concept thing where they used the original Zelda
Yes.
and like showed like how the game would work?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I was surprised that wasn't like some secret bonus thing that they had hidden in the game, like, here's Breath of the Wild if it was an NES game. But
Like
yeah, I don't know.
when
It's really
Doom made
fun.
when Doom had you play like the OG Doom in Doom 2016.
Yeah, like that. Like I love that. I think one of the recent Wolfensteins did that too.
Mm. Like an arcade cabinet you found in the middle of the game or some nonsense like
Yeah, like it was
Yeah,
completely like, stop fascism. Wait, do I have quarters?
that.
I remember
But,
the
yeah.
Rogue Squadron on GameCube you could unlock the arcade version of Star Wars.
Did it? I didn't remember
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
I missed that series. That was fun.
I've always wanted
Yeah,
to
now
get
it's
back.
all about the online battles and such.
That's what always stops me about some of these games is it's too online. I don't want to be dealing with other people. I want to
Oh,
play
you're
by myself.
preaching to the choir there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why Splatoon I think's a great concept, but I can't do online like that. So
I was playing Mario Party online the other day, and it might have been like a little kid playing, I don't know, but they literally took the longest amount of time. I think it gives you 30 seconds and then it just does the turn for you.
Mhm.
And I swear they were taking like 26 seconds every single
They were
time.
timing it.
I'm like, I picked the shortest amount of moves because I want to go.
Like I hate people. Like I really appreciate the people who like dedicate and have like such a fanaticism to the online communities, the Call of Duties, the Battlefronts, all of those. Like I'm so happy that they have that. It's just not for me because I don't have that kind of time to sit down and dedicate muscle memory and learning maps and which gun works best for this combat experience, or if you jump into this area and have exact reflexes, you can stop somebody from spamming the flashbang or some nonsense like that. I don't know. I like slow. I like taking
Yep.
my time with it.
Yeah, what also kills it for me a lot of times is online leaderboards. I remember there was a period where they like forced those on us in games. Not so
Yeah.
much anymore.
Mhm.
But it's like I don't care that I'm ranked 90,000 in the world. Like,
So I'll play online with my niece and nephew because I know them.
Yeah.
But really outside of that, the only Switch stuff I really play online with just random people is Mario Kart, because Doesn't matter to me if you know every track, great.
Sure.
And Shredder's Revenge is fun to play online with people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that game's designed around, playing with people. So if you can't have them on the couch, kind of got to go online.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if you're terrible at beat 'em ups like I am. I need the help.
So what do you guys been playing?
I'm still playing Grandia, hoping to finish it before my vacation so I can get on a new Nintendo game. But you ever do that thing where you look? This might be a weird thing I do, but I loaded up a walkthrough, and I'm not even using the walkthrough. I'm using the table of contents to gauge how far into the game I am, so I know if
I've
I'll finish
never
it on
done
time.
that.
I just did that for Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I just wanted to know when it was going to be over. I'm like, is it done yet? How much longer do I have on this nonsense? God.
Really? I've heard all good things about that game. It kind of drags.
I felt like it would be a hurry up and then a breakneck stop. Like you'd be running, doing some combat, and then it's like running, stop, and then you got to do a puzzle, and you got to do it exactly the way that they want you to, or else it's not going to work at all. And I felt like it went on just a little too long, and there was too much dialogue, and at the same time, not enough dialogue. I know that's complicated, but essentially it came down to they had a lot of things to say, but they would say those things over and over again, especially during like a long fight scene with like the end boss, and it was just Rocket saying the same thing over and over again of load him up, Quill, load him up, Quill. It's like, guys, come on. So
you know what, to bring things back to Breath of the Wild, that's one thing that game does really well, is most of the puzzles have like multiple ways you can solve them.
yeah. No,
You
I
just
love
kind of play in your own style.
Yeah, I love that about Breath of the Wild. Like, no two ways could be the same, really.
I love that they still release videos, 6 years later, they're still finding things people didn't know you could do in the game.
Is that like a good sign or a bad sign in a video game, do you think? Like, that there are people still discovering, like, did you know that if you hit the bomb at the same time that you eat a banana, you will age 10 years in the future? Like, is that
I'm fascinated by when people hack games and find things that, like, nobody's found before. Like, one thing that comes to mind is, like, it was very recently that they were able to find the Luigi model inside Mario 64. And I'm like, how many years, how many like decades have people been hacking that game and nobody found that model till now? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it's kind of cool from a game design perspective that it was a release game. And there's so much in it that people are still finding new things. So I think for the most part, it's a positive.
Dope.
So I think now we can move on to the news for the week.
Can I say what I was playing this week?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you.
So I love a good retro game. I am playing the Castlevania Advance Collection, specifically Castlevania Circle of the Moon.
What's in the collection? Because Shawn and I have talked about this. I want Symphony of the Night, and like I refuse to get back into Castlevania until I can get it.
Castlevania Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, Aria of Sorrow, and Dracula X. That is what's in the collection. I don't think
Dracula X is another one that's on my list, so I might jump in for that.
I think Symphony of the Night is like a Sony exclusive at this point.
Probably.
But it's definitely worth it, man. It's so good. Such a great one.
I played the only Castlevania games I've played are the first 4. I fell off the series after that.
I think Symphony of the Night is like the end all be all. I had 4 growing up on the SNES. And I remember when like my sister's boyfriend came over, it's like, here, play this game while I go make out with your sister. And I was like enraptured by like, oh my gosh, I'm fighting Dracula right at the beginning of the game. And then like you play Alucard and all the combat is slightly different. And then when you find out that like, it's not 100%, like when you 100% the game, it's not over. Such a great game. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't played it yet, but solid.
You know what though? I have a sister's boyfriend story as well, but it's not as good as yours. So you got to play a game My sister's boyfriend borrowed a bunch of my games and then broke up with her, and I never got them back.
No.
Oh,
That's
that's
the
a sad
worst.
story.
That is the worst.
So that just reminded me of that.
I'm sorry I brought
It's
these dark
funny.
memories to your door.
I know it always goes dark, no matter how many podcasts we do. Yeah, Castlevania. My experience with it is I have both the collections, the advanced collection. I haven't even gotten to dig into, and that's been out over a year. But I didn't get into them till I was an adult, which is funny because I love horror, and I really like the older games. So I'm guessing the 4 of them in the advanced collection are at least decent.
Um, I really like the original 4 because it feels nostalgically novel. That's a weird contrast, right? Like, it's like, wow, can you think about the first time that someone played this and how new it was at that point? And I really like that. I think the advanced collection is a little bit clunky, at least
Okay.
from how I'm playing it right now. But I think it's still got like a lot of the bones of a good Castlevania, Metroidvania kind of system. But yeah, it's always fun. I always love, like, one of my favorite games of all time is Symphony of the Night, and then like a close, like, just ahead of that is Hollow Knight, which is also Metroidvania. So always happy to have just like an opportunity to explore the unknown and then have to come back to it later.
So you really think Silk Song's coming this year?
It's Don't you get me started. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's coming this year. Microsoft confirmed it's coming. Ooh, it's fighting words.
Well, that's a good way to transition into the news. Let's see if it's in the news. Nope, not in the news I took. But
Jerks.
a few news items I did grab for this week. So, Nintendo plans to increase production of its 6-year-old Switch console, coming in the fiscal year. Oh, it came in the fiscal year after shipping roughly 21 million Switch units last year. So they sold a lot, but they think there was demand for more. So they're going to be increasing their production on the Switch. To me, this should be the final nail in the coffin of people expecting a Switch Pro. I don't think they're going to be increasing production on the basic models if they're going to be rolling something else out soon.
How long do you think they come up with the next console? Not necessarily the Switch 2, but
So we speculated on that in our first episode because we figured it was a good topic, and
dang.
my timetable and Sean's was kind of similar. I think they start talking about it in 20.
Yeah, that's what you think.
That's a good prediction,
Yeah, I
but
like that. You know,
mine is that they start talking about it in 2024,
Mhm.
and it'll release like first quarter 25.
Okay. I think 25 is probably a good prediction at this point.
Yeah,
I think-
that's what makes sense, because if you're selling them that much, why would you even bother? You know,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they sold 21 million units last year, according to this. That's 6 years in, not a bad number.
No, that's great. Did you guys hear about the Fire Emblem kind of drama going on right now?
No.
So the latest Fire Emblem has come out, and there's a lot of backlash about the translation because it is not true to the original dialogue. However, the original dialogue is it's not great. It definitely puts it in an older character persuading a younger character that might not necessarily be of age into a promiscuous situation.
Okay.
So the original,
Alrighty.
yeah, the original dialogue is not great, and the translators are like, no, we did this because like that is not appropriate, and we got the American Nintendo seal of approval on it. And some people are like, why was it in there in the first place? And of course, there's the small subset of fans who are saying, why didn't you stay true to it? This is what the creator intended. It's not great if the creator intended that.
Yeah. This isn't a situation where like they changed the churches to schools in like a Final Fantasy game or something. This is like,
yeah,
this should be an improvement.
Yeah, in my opinion, I very much agree. This is only an improvement at this point.
So, not going to sell more Switches with that kind of stuff.
Probably not.
So probably the biggest bit of Nintendo news actually dropped today is at least the date we're recording this. On the day we're recording this, they announced that Goldeneye finally coming to the Switch online service. And by the time you're hearing this, it's already there because it's going to drop on Friday.
Wow.
So prepared to be disappointed because nostalgia will blind you. I'm sure it's not bad, but
Well, I have like a roller coaster of emotions for this game. It's like I loved it. I play my Nintendo 64 cart like a lot. I still do local multiplayer. Well, you can only do local multiplayer with it, but I still do that from time to time, bust it out. It's one of those games I kind of never stopped playing, which is also why I have mixed emotions because I feel like I've drained all of the nostalgia out of it at this point. And I'm definitely going to be playing it on the Switch, and the fact that I think you can do online matches is going to be pretty cool, but
yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to feel when I'm playing it. We'll see. Do you have any excitement for it, David?
Weird.
Go, Sean. Go ahead, Sean, and I'll
No, I just thought it was weird. It's the only release they've had now where it's like it's in widescreen. I'm like, okay, why did you just do this? Like,
yeah, people really wanted Mario 64 to have it.
I did not grow up with Goldeneye. Like that was like one of those ones that you go over to a friend's house and you get to play it there, and I was like, that's fun. But it was also, you're that friend who owns it, so they know, like I said, all of the shortcuts, what guns were good. So I never felt like I was having a fair chance to play the game. I'm excited for it, but at the same time, it's just like I'm excited for other people to have that thing. I hope your nostalgia doesn't like overshadow how exciting it is to have things from our past to celebrate them today. That's really what it is.
What was your multiplayer mode?
Yeah.
What was the one you picked? Do you remember? I've heard a lot of people say they do Golden Gun, like the one-shot kills. We never did that growing up. That was too quick.
I remember I had a friend who was like, no, it's no guns. Like it was only chopping.
Slappers only?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yep.
And I
we
just
did
we
throwing
did
knives
mines.
only.
We did throwing knives. We did the remote mines a lot though, and you would put the mine like, somewhere you can't see it, and you'd watch people's screens to see when they were going by the mine, and then you'd blow them up.
Good time.
Paintball, right?
Oh, you always have paintball on, because then you can write swear words on the wall.
Love it.
What else do I have for news here? So a recent Watch Mojo list did a top 10 most underrated video games of all time. And the number 1 game on the list, well, I'll read the list. Why not? Number 10 was Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. Not familiar with that game. Number 9, Space Station: Silicon Valley.
Kind of remember it.
Yeah, everyone talks about that as an underrated game. Not a surprise pick there. Number 8, PsyOps: The Mindgate Conspiracy.
Title's familiar.
Number 7, Mod Nation Racers.
That sounds really familiar. That like hits a bell in my head. I don't know if it was like a demo disc that I got one day or something, but I remember hearing that one.
Number 6, this is on my list of RPGs to finish before I die, because I own this game, just haven't finished it. Skies of Arcadia.
Where do I know that one from?
It's a Dreamcast game where you're sky pirates.
Okay, cool.
Turn-based RPG combat. Think of like the early 2000s style RPG.
I'm looking at some of the pictures now, and these are rough character designs. Woof. Oh man.
Number 5 was Power Stone. I would have put Power Stone 2 above that, but it's hard to tell on a list like this. Maybe they think that one's appropriately rated because this is about underrated games.
Mm-hmm.
So Power Stone. Mischief Makers is number 4. There's a Nintendo 64 one on topic. Um, Splosion Man, number 3.
Yeah,
I
Explosion Man.
think I played that, but I wouldn't say it's underrated, but okay.
Oh wait, I'm looking at this. I remember playing this. Like I remember playing. This is a indie side scroller, I think.
What system
Yeah.
is it on, or is it PC?
I see it. It's on
Xbox?
Xbox 360. I think is when it originally came out because that's when a lot of the indie games could really flourish. Was when they came to consoles. It was weird. This was a weird one.
Number 2 is Beyond Good and Evil.
Classic game. I don't think that's necessarily underrated. I think everybody who has played
I
it
was
will
gonna-
talk about it till the end
Yep.
of time.
I agree totally. Like it's appropriately rated.
I don't think that should be on the list, but I also think 2 is never coming out. So
Oh yeah, never.
And the number 1 on this list, and the reason I brought it here for our podcast, it's a game that we always talk about. Jet Force Gemini is the most underrated game of all time, according to this Watch Mojo list. That's a bold statement.
okay.
Coming from someone
don't
who
know about
loves Jet
that.
Force Gemini. I remember the promotional stuff for Jet Force Gemini and like Nintendo Power and things like that. The thing they were so proud of is, if you don't know, it's a third-person shooter. And if you like get backed up against a wall, your character becomes transparent. And they were like so proud of that. It was in like everything they promoted for the game. Hey,
now
look, your
I don't even
character doesn't
remember
block
that.
your view.
I don't remember that being a selling point, but okay.
How much you want to bet that was one of those like this is a glitch? Kind of works for us, so we'll keep it in.
Yeah.
It's a
that's
feature.
You collect baby Yodas in that game. Nobody ever talks about that.
Tiny little
Do
Yodas
you?
around the campus.
Yeah, you're rescuing these things that basically look like baby Yoda. They did it first. They did it way first.
Damn you,
Fight bugs,
John Favreau
right?
stealing these ideas.
Yeah, they're like ants. The enemies look like ants with guns. Because third-person shooter. And then all the bosses are like giant bugs.
Okay.
Because I remember that was, you remember we talked about how like this came out when we were like in our mid-teen years. So like I was looking for
Yeah.
like what was going to be my thing.
You
And
thought that was going to be your series, that they'd
Yeah,
be on Jet Force Gemini remake by now.
yeah, it never made it past the first game. Same thing happened with Winback because I hadn't played Metal Gear yet. So I was like, Winback's going to be my series. I'm going to get super into this, and nothing after that.
Rough stuff, dude. I can't really talk. Mine was Mega Man Legends. So
Oh, I love Legends. I could talk for hours about Mega Man Legends.
freaking love Legends, but we're only gonna get the first 2 games. That's too bad.
Hey, you got Tron Bon.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts.
The thing that I remember talking with my friend about when we would play that game is it blew our minds that game was only 1 disc, because we were used to playing like Final Fantasy games.
Mhm.
And we were like, there's so much voice acting in this game, and it feels like you can do anything. Like that was one of the first games where I was like, anything you can think of, you can do. Look, if you kick that trash can, it actually moves. Like
Yeah.
it was like, so like by today's standards, you can't do anything in this game. But at the time, it was like, oh my God. Like I remember there's a spot where you can kick a can,
Mhm.
and just because you get bored, and this is how you would play games back then, would be like, try to kick the can behind that counter.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if you kick the can behind the counter, it gives you money for recycling the can. And we were like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they thought of everything.
I think what really kicked it off for me was that it had an invisible morality system.
Yes.
So like if you did good things or bad things, it would slowly change the color of Mega Man's outfit from the standard blue, and the better you were, it turned to light blue. And if you did evil things, it turned your suit dark blue or almost black. And I remember one day I was like, I need money. And then you get to this side quest where you stop a bank robbery, and you can like, do you keep the suitcase full of money? And you say, if you say yes, immediate black, and you can never go back again. And I was like, whoa, what a concept that like my actions have affected how I physically appear. That's crazy. And then Fable comes out like
Yep.
6-7 years later, and
I was
and
going to
that's-
say Knights of the Old Republic did it too. Yeah.
oh yeah. That's a good one.
I didn't know Mega Man had that. That's awesome. Like, because those other games act like they invented it.
I think they really, because it was a subtle change when it came to
Yeah.
like KOTOR or these other games, but with that one, it was like subtle, and it wasn't really talked about until you did something really dramatically different.
And then they put it out on the Nintendo 64. And did you know there was a planned they planned to do Mega Man Legends 2 also on the Nintendo 64, but they had pretty much moved on to the GameCube at that point.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, unfortunately.
And then the other, I guess this is news, slow news week. We got GoldenEye though. The other news item is IGN published the most anticipated games of 2023. So let's see how many of these are Nintendo's. We got Diablo 4. Anyone anticipating that?
Well, I'm
Nope.
anticipating it, but it won't be on the Switch. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Assassin's Creed Mirage.
I'm interested.
eh,
I'm interested.
I'm glad because I fell out of that series ages ago.
Dead Space remake. 2 remakes in a row. Dead Space and Resident Evil 4. I don't know how people are anticipating Resident Evil 4. It's available on everything.
But it don't look pretty like that.
Yeah. It's funny. It's at a certain point, Capcom decided we don't need to make new Resident Evils. Let's just remake all the ones we did so far.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Final Fantasy 16. So we might get Final Fantasy 16 Pocket like they did with 15.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Ooh.
Well,
Yeah. I got conflicted feelings on that one.
Well, Shawn
I'm
and
just
I.
not
Well,
into Harry Potter. So
Okay, so that's what I was going to guess. I feel like Shawn and I were just old enough to miss Harry Potter. That came out when we were like in like the 8th or 9th grade, the first book.
Sure.
And I think it like just missed us.
I grew up with Harry Potter. I think I was in 6th, 7th grade or so. So like it was right there at that
Yeah.
appropriate age group. And I
So
remember go ahead.
you got to read along with it almost the same age, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that was one of the fun things is like as I grew, so did Harry. And then I remember I read book 5, and it's the best worst one of them all. It was so contentious in my head that when I started reading book 6, I was like, I don't care anymore. And I never looked back.
I actually read them as an adult because I had a job where I sat at a desk and didn't do anything at the time. Wish I still had it. I get obsessed with franchises. Like I'm just getting into Star Trek now for the first time because it's on Paramount Plus, and I'm like, why not? I got the subscription. So like, yeah, I read them for the first time as an adult, and I was like, I could see why people of a certain age would get into this, but it didn't like hook me.
Mm-hmm.
The number 4 most anticipated game, Starfield.
That's Space Skyrim.
Yep, basically.
I'm interested, but I'm definitely gonna wait like a month or two because if it's a Bethesda and it's true to like any other Bethesda game, it's gonna have a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
So you're gonna wait for the community to make it playable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the top 3, this one I don't have, like, I'll just read it. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I'm so burnt out on Star Wars games at this point.
Did you play the
I
original?
tried the first one. I couldn't get into it. And I don't know. Narratively, Star Wars doesn't do anything for me anymore.
Okay, but have you watched Andor?
Yeah.
Okay, Andor.
Yeah, I did.
Top notch. It's not a Star Wars show, but it's a great Star Wars show.
Oh, yeah. I'm not burnt out on Star Wars as a whole, but for some reason, like the video games, I'm kind of burnt out on.
I played the original Jedi, whatever it was. I can't remember the name.
Academy?
Fallen Order.
No. Fallen Order. Yeah, that's it.
I liked it. I thought it was a good, because a lot of people were like, it's the Dark Souls of Star Wars games, which I think is just a buzzword that people really love to say nowadays.
Yeah.
But it definitely was challenging, but it wasn't impossible. Like, I've definitely played harder games that were not advertised as super hard games. I loved its customization of the difficulties, so you could change like how long it took you to block or deflect something or parry something. Like, it gave people a chance to really hone in on what works best for them. Customization like that means more inclusivity for people. The story was okay, but anytime that you get to swing around a lightsaber and force push people off of a cliff, I'm there. I'm in it. I can't wait.
I think that's what it is too. It's going to be weird, but I've never been big on being like a lightsaber character in games.
Mm-hmm.
I always prefer being like a Han Solo type or like a stormtrooper or whatever. So I don't know. It's just for whatever reason that doesn't do anything for me.
That's fair. I can appreciate that.
I'm the opposite. I would always in Knights of the Old Republic, like I want the double lightsaber, or I want the two at once. Like
yeah, that's my method.
Again, random memory. I remember when they were promoting. I just remember promotions for things. Apparently, I remember when they were promoting Attack of the Clones. They made a really big deal out of like at one point Anakin fights with two lightsabers in this movie in his hand. And that's literally like 3 seconds in the movie he does that.
The community loves to like hold on to those snippets of like, but what if? What if it could have been different? It could have been great.
Maybe at the time they were like hyping it up, that sequence hadn't been trimmed down yet. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The number 2 most anticipated game. It's a Nintendo one, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Let's go!
It's only number 2? I'm surprised.
Well, you'll understand when we get to number 1. So number 1 is Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
I'm more excited for Tears of the Kingdom than Spider-Man 2, but I also have no way to play Spider-Man 2 right now.
Well, you know I am, because Zelda is like my biggest gaming franchise, so yeah. I'm excited for both, though. I just finished the Miles Morales Spider-Man game like 3 weeks ago, something like that.
It's on my list. I've got a physical copy of it. It's on my shelf.
It's short in a good way. Like you don't get the game does not wear out its welcome. I'll put it that way. It's not as long as Spider-Man was.
Okay, good to know. I'll set that expectation.
And then for rumors this week, I'm not sure. I think most people have heard this rumor already, but it's only our 3rd episode, so whatever. We haven't talked about it yet. The rumor is we should be getting a new Nintendo Direct soon, and it makes sense when you look at their history of Directs because they usually do them the first quarter ones in February. I actually think it's going to happen in March because it'll be
before the movie.
I think exactly. I think what it's going to focus on is the movie, Tears of the Kingdom. It'll finally give us a trailer that tells us something. And Pikmin 4. I think they're going to do a release date for that because all they've really said is, hey, Pikmin 4 is going to be a thing.
Do you think they're going to bring up Prime 4 yet? Or
I was going to guess that.
Be waiting?
Could be. I mean, people are definitely talking about it. Like they definitely can't, I don't think that collection's coming, unfortunately. That's the thing that always gets talked about with Prime 4. They might re-release like the first Metroid Prime or something, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in that collection. I feel like that collection would have shown up by now if it was going to.
I think what they're going to aim for is I think they're going to do a teaser with a year date. And I think it's probably going to like come out late 2024 or early 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a launch title for whatever next console that they're going to do. It would be smart if they did that, but I think they're going to be like, look, we are working on it. Here's 10 seconds of Samus taking off her helmet and 3 other new bounty hunters we've never seen before. That's my official prediction, is that they'll have like a year release time and like 10 seconds of information that we can eat up for next 3 years.
Do either of
I
you
think
have any? Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I have a prediction that they're gonna have some weird like team up thing, like some tie-in that it just like what that's gonna get announced on that direct.
Dr. Mario and Surgeon Simulator.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
That game would work great on the Virtual Boy Color we talked about last episode.
Gosh.
It would. I'm still pretty sure that's the next system.
Do either of you have any excitement for Pikmin 4?
Not a Pikmin fan. It's
No?
not a game for me.
I'm happy for the fans, but I am not good at those games, so probably not going to play it.
See, Sean knows this. I buy into hype. So I'm actually recently been thinking a lot about Pikmin because they announced that game, and I think I'm going to play the third one. I played the first two, and I never played the third one on the Wii U or the Switch, but if they announce Pikmin 4 is coming like December, then yeah, I'm probably going to play 3 by then.
Mm-hmm.
If they announce it's coming in June, probably not.
It's just a genre I'm not good at.
I guess it is a genre, but there's not a lot of games in the throw little people at obstacles genre.
No, but it's like that RTS type game, and I don't know. I'm just not good at those.
I feel like it is a very niche subsection of that genre. Like it feels puzzle, RTS, action adventure. Like I love a good RTS. Like give me like Bloons Tower Defense. That's a great real-time strategy game. XCOM, love XCOM. But this is just I don't know, it just doesn't vibe with me. There's something about the character designs, the light story. I don't know, man. Just not for me.
Well, again, back to the premise of the show, I think that is the type of game that to me is like good Nintendo therapy. There's something very relaxing about, again, I haven't played the third one, but the first two Pikmin games, even the first one with the time limit, yeah, little bit relaxing. I don't know.
I think the thing I like the most with Pikmin is using Olimar in Smash.
That's the thing about Smash Brothers. You'll like fall in love with characters that you would never play their standalone games.
It's funny because like my best character and my go-to in Smash is Mr. Game & Watch.
And that's all the news and rumors I found this week, or anything worth talking about at least. I mean, there's crazy rumors out there if you want to go off the deep end.
Yeah, I'm good.
Illumination Studios is making a Zelda movie. What?
No, they're not.
What are you basing this on? They're making a Mario one. Like
my favorite rumor is Silk Song's coming out this year.
Boom, callback. So that moves us on to our new segment where, 3 episodes in, we got new segment. Everything's new, but we're gonna keep on doing random spotlights on a random selection from the Switch Online service, and this week it is Congo's Caper, and it sounds like we all had time to play it. We'll let David go first. What were your thoughts?
I kind of enjoyed it. I also am very grateful that Nintendo has allowed you to rewind certain moves. So, you jump off a cliff prematurely because the controls were a little janky. You have a chance to kind of rewind a few frames because I'm 30-something years old, and I just don't have that much time left on this earth to try and get pixel perfect jumping anymore.
You get a Prince of Persia that sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great. Oh, I'm gonna call that's the feature for me now. I'm gonna Prince of Persia this. It was cute. It felt like somebody played that and went like, oh, but what if I had more like different paths and then made Sonic off of it? I don't know if I'm crazy on that because it felt like I could follow multiple paths depending on the level. story's all right. Pretty simple. Probably took me 2 hours to beat the entire thing. Yeah, it was fine. I not rating it as the best game I'll ever play this year, but I have a little content tracker for all of the content that I am consuming throughout the year, and I put it down as just a 5 out of 10. It's mid in my opinion. It's not terrible. It's not great. Not going to come back to it. Not going to hate on it.
Did you pick up on the fact, because I only know this from the Wikipedia, that it's apparently in the Joe and Mac series?
What?
Yeah, apparently this is like a side. Apparently there's somewhere in the game a brief reference to Joe and Mac, and this is like a spin-off series.
Huh.
I didn't
I
pick
say
up on
series,
that
but
at
it's
all.
one game.
Huh.
Yeah, that surprises me entirely. I did not pick up on that at all.
No, you shouldn't have. they didn't really set it up.
Yeah.
To me, this game was, I'll say, it looks really nice for a Super Nintendo game from 1992.
Mhm.
I feel like that's how a lot of these games operated. There was this this was like a Blockbuster rental for sure. It looks good enough on the back of the box, because that's all there was this period in video games where the most important thing was if it looked good as a still frame, you know, because like a screenshot, that's basically what's going to sell it in a video game magazine or the box art, or even going all the way to the internet. I mean, I remember early internet, you couldn't watch video. I literally remember waiting for a video of Bomberman Hero to download so I could watch the trailer for that. So that's late Nintendo 64. Definitely not seeing video online for 1992. Not even getting online. So yeah, I think like if this was in Nintendo Power and you were looking at just still images, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'll rent that at Blockbuster. That looks pretty good. And then you play it and you're like, oh, all the effort went into the visuals, it seems like.
Yeah. The controls are okay. I did enjoy the boss fights. I think the most interesting was like, what's this boss going to be? And then when you like it was revealed there's I don't know, a crime syndicate of creatures. I no idea. But to see like, oh, you got to fight a robot here and you fight a T-Rex there. Like I was like, these are clever, and I felt like it wasn't trite material. If that
and I
makes
like
sense.
that it let you pick your own path. Like after you finish that first level, there you get like the 4 you can choose from, kind of Mega Man style.
Yeah, definitely.
I noticed something weird. Sorry, let me just get this out.
Yeah.
Your thoughts is there's a lot of caveman games on the Switch Online Super Nintendo channel, because you've got Joe and Mac 2, this, and a game called Prehistoric Man, which I threw on just out of curiosity, and it plays almost identical to this one. You're like a caveman with a club, and it's very similar.
Oh, I hope we're not going to randomly get a bunch of caveman games in a row. So for me, this was my dad found it at the flea market for $15, just a cartridge type game.
There you go. That's a good way to describe it.
David, I'm impressed because I could only get to one of the last levels where you have to somehow navigate that platform that's got the spikes coming down. I could never time it.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Kudos to you, because I tried and I finally gave up. I actually had sent Kevin a picture. I'm like, I get to this. And he was just like, you didn't have to go that hard on it. And I'm like,
I was like, we don't have to finish these. Just play till you think you have enough to talk about, because eventually we're going to be doing like Breath of Fire and like, Earthbound. I don't expect you to finish Earthbound in a week.
But what I liked about it was, because when you read it last week, I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize it was all with cavemen. So I agree with David. The boss fights are like the strongest part of the game. Like I liked that it was like a caveman vampire or caveman bad scientist, pirate, whatever. But what was funny is the T-Rex fight at the beginning. I thought you had to hit him in the head with the club. And I kept doing that for like an hour. Like, why is his health not going down? And eventually I was like, oh, you're going to knock the cave guys into his head. So it was just funny to go back again to being a kid and trying to figure it out. I guess that's my big thing this year because I
That-
refused to look it up, and I'm like, David's proven me wrong because I was like, there's no way you can beat this game.
That
Apparently, you
reminds
can.
you would literally get games back then that would give you no indication that you were damaging the boss. And I remember that being like a pet peeve of mine at the time. That's not something I've seen in recent gaming. It's a thing we learned from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed was initially when you said, "Oh, we're gonna do Congo's Caper or Quest, or whatever it is," there's another game on the online with a monkey on the cover called Spanky something, and that's what I
Yep.
thought it was, and it's not. So,
Yeah, I debated adding that to my list of caveman games, but it's technically not, but it kind of fits the category as well.
Did you
but, yeah,
guys get a sense of like some Goku vibes from Dragon Ball Z whenever you got
Yes.
like the full power up?
Yep.
Because
You went a little Super Saiyan.
he goes Super Saiyan, and then like his jumps go up extra high, and he can like float in the air for a little bit. I was like, all right, Goku, go off. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, that extra high jump is never, at least I don't think I ever used it for anything.
You had to use it because I feel like the pirate levels you kind of needed it. And
No, you're right. You're right.
I guess my only complaint with the game, because I'd agree it's probably like a 5, and like I said, it would have been something my dad found at the flea market, and that's the only way we would have had it as kids. But I thought the level design was not good.
No?
I don't
Did
know. It was
you-
just stunted, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. None of them felt consistent.
Did you ever get anything to happen with that roulette wheel? Because I got 3 matches a few times and didn't even notice anything happen.
I thought you got a life.
Oh, maybe I just didn't notice it.
I thought I was going to ask the same thing of like, are these the power ups? Because I'm so used to like Super Mario Brothers.
Yep.
Where like that's where you have your cape or you've got an extra mushroom up in there. And I was like, maybe I need to hit a button to activate the slot machine. And I just got to the point where it's like, I'm gonna focus on that for far too long. I just need to try and beat the game. Yeah, I never got a combo in the slot machine. Never.
I got one, and it was like the 3 angry faces. And I was like, oh, am I going to die? And then it didn't seem like anything happened. So maybe that's just a dud. I don't know.
I feel like it gave you lives because by the time I quit, I had like 24 lives.
That reminds me right now I'm playing Yoshi. I always mess up the title of this. Yoshi's Island. Because there's Yoshi's Story. And I always almost mix them. I'm playing Yoshi's Island. And I've got like 103 lives right now.
That sounds about right.
My partner is a huge Yoshi's Island fan on the SNES, and we got the SNES hooked up a couple weeks ago actually. And one of the first things that they did was pick it up and started playing, and just immediately like, okay, so here's this secret here, and okay, and you got to launch this. And it was like all muscle memory from their childhood, and it was really cute to watch them just kind of go off and be like young again. But it was one of those things of like, I don't know how you keep that in your head, but that's
I don't know
so
either,
cool.
but I'm playing it the same way. That's a game that I owned when it was new. That was definitely one of the few Super Nintendo games I actually owned instead of rented.
Yeah.
And it's all coming back to me as I play. And I'm like, man, I don't think about this game enough.
I think I borrowed it from you. That's how I played it.
You almost definitely did. Yeah, I don't think there was a game I owned you didn't borrow, and vice versa. We were always swapping. I didn't borrow your light gun game though, because I didn't have the light gun.
Oh yeah, I had
Yoshi's Safari. Another Yoshi game.
Safari. That was fun.
Apparently, you can play 2 players in that.
Yeah, somebody controls Yoshi, and then somebody else does the shooting.
Put that on Switch Online.
They could actually.
Yeah. All right, so I think now it's time we'll pick another random game off the list.
Don't be cavemen. Don't be cavemen.
You know what we could do? So there's a podcast I listened to called Ultra 64, and they were going through the whole Nintendo 64 library, and they like at the end of each one they rank them, which we can't do right now because we only have one game, but we could get like a ranking going of these.
Sure.
if I remember next week.
If you remember.
Yeah. So I already took the caveman game here off the list, so that should be good. Pick me a random game, computer. It's spinning.
Random. Here we go. Let's have some fun and don't be a dud. That rhymes.
Wheel of Morality. Turn.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. I've played this one. So the game for next week is the NES game Kirby's Adventure.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I've never gotten very far in it, but sure.
I've beaten it. It's really easy. It's a Kirby game. So that's one you probably will finish by next week. In fact, I'd be surprised if you don't.
All right. Challenge accepted.
I remember I had Kirby's Dream Land on Game Boy, and I remember playing this on NES and being like surprised about how you could now. Is this the first one when you could gain abilities, or is it just the first one where you could spit the enemies back? Because on the Game Boy one, you can only like spit back air.
Yeah, I only
think.
remember spitting back air because that's the one that I had was the Game Boy version.
Yeah, the first Kirby game, you couldn't spit the enemies out yet. So I don't know if you get abilities yet in this NES one, but it's definitely the first one that lets you just like launch an enemy into another enemy, which is always fun.
Always good.
And does anyone else, before we close out here, have any other Nintendo thoughts they'd like to get out before we, obviously, David, will let you talk about your other podcasts and stuff too? Nope.
I would like to say Pokemon, get better. I've been trying to play Scarlet, and it's just it's too much hand-holding. You don't get to,
Yeah.
I'm so used to that first like 20, 30 minutes of explanation and whatnot. This genre's been out for so long. Stop trying to hold my hand. I know what I'm doing. Just make me sit down with whatever new spec thing that you've got with terrestrialization or Gigamax or whatever it is. That's the thing that you can sit down and teach me. But I know how to catch a Pokemon. I know how to access my Pokedex. Stop holding my hand. Give me an option to say, I've done this before. I've been playing since before any of you were coded. Give me this.
You know what got me in that game was I played the gyms a little out of order.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to there's one where you have to return the gym leader's wallet, like he drops it. And I couldn't, my Pokemon weren't leveled enough yet to beat his assistant. So I had to, I have this guy's wallet and I can't give it back to him because my Pokemon aren't strong enough.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to leave and go do a different gym with this guy's wallet in my inventory. And the whole time I'm like, I just want to give him his wallet back.
I hope he doesn't have my social security card in there. Like, that really sucks.
I guess this is as good a time as any. So Scarlet is the first Pokemon game I've ever played. I played it for 4 hours, gave up because it was boring, and gave it to my niece who has yet to install it on her Switch.
That's a great sign of the industry at that point.
I mean, I like it. I've talked at length about my Pokemon experiences on here, but yeah, it's the game that's getting me back into the series, even though it's not running that great.
No, it wasn't even the running. I was just like, wow, this is just boring. So I'm all set. So
Nintendo therapy, man, boring's good sometimes. You work a long day, you want a game you don't have to think a lot about.
Again, I the extent of me capturing monsters has been Monster Hunter. So to come from that,
I think I'm learning something.
I'm like, ugh.
I think I'm learning something about myself on this podcast. Is I basically want Press A, the video game.
Things have too many buttons for you now.
Yeah, I just want Press A, the video game.
Old man yells at cloud.
Yeah. All right, so David, tell our listeners where they can find you on all kinds of other podcasties.
Well, I have a lot of different podcasts, so if one doesn't fit your desires, I'm sure I've got one for you. I would like to talk about The Last Voice, which is a audio scripted drama that I have created. I started writing it during the height of the pandemic, and it is a solo series about surviving in a post-apocalyptic zombie world. So if that's your draw, really enjoy The Last of Us. That might be something that you enjoy. If you enjoy
I'm
comic
intrigued.
book, yeah, I think everyone would appreciate just kind of giving it a try. It's mostly family friendly, but there's a few curse words here and there, but it's not over the head. It's not going to hit you over the head with it. And they're super short episodes too, so they're like at the most 20 minutes. If you enjoy comic books, Kevin and Shawn told me that they do a Ninja Turtles comic book podcast. I also have a comic book podcast called Comic Trades Monthly. It's where me and my friend Dane sit down and talk about a comic book in a book club format, talking about the moral of the story and what does it all mean and how we can apply what Spider-Man learned that day to our everyday lives. And lastly, I have a cosplay podcast called Cosplay Stitch and Seam, where me and two international cosplay winners, they have gone on and competed in worldwide competitions, talk about cosplay tips and tricks, building your cosplay community, different techniques, and everything in between.
Nice.
All the three of those sound great.
I've been cosplaying since before I knew that was a word.
Yeah.
Cosplay is when I realized I was old, because one of the only times I did it, no one knew who I was.
Oh, yeah. I have, from that same outing where nobody knew who Shawn was, I have a Ghostbuster outfit complete with the $1,300 proton pack that lights up.
That's so dope. That's so cool.
I spent my tax returns on it one year.
Ooh, good choices.
Before I was married.
Okay, all right, yeah, good choices then. Yeah, definitely.
When I was single and had no one to spend money on. Now that would go to a home repair or something for sure. But yeah, it's up in the attic. I can't wait for a comic book convention to wear it again, though.
I recently finished a Hollow Knight cosplay, and I did like this big giant horn helmet thing that the Hollow Knight has. The actual Hollow Knight, not the titular knight from the game. And I competed with it, and I got best performance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nope. I was Garth from Wayne's World, and people kept asking who I was, so I just started screaming Wayne at the top of my lungs and walking away from people.
Oof, that's rough. I hate it when that happens.
All right, and you know where to find us. We've got the Ninja Turtle Nerds and this. So pretty much everything's going to be in the show notes. Yeah, and same thing with David's stuff. I'll throw it down in the show notes as well. This podcast doesn't have a whole lot of stuff right now. We have a Twitter. You can find us at Nintendo Therapy on Twitter, which I was surprised was available. And yeah. And the email was not available. So if you want to email us, nintendotherapypod@gmail.com.
Nice.
I should have just kept looking through like different email services to see where it was available, but I didn't feel like it.
You really want Nintendo Therapy at AOL.com?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure it's taken.
I thought about it because it'd be funny. But yeah. All right. So that is our show for this week. And now a random game over sound.